Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's Orange Bloods Live on a Monday. I'm Jeff Ketchum. That is Chad Hastings. We're going to be with you for a hot minute talking Texas football portal stuff. Cam Coleman, Hollywood Smothers. The Aggies got a commitment too. Like, I'm not going to completely ignore the fact that they kind of got themselves a receiver as well. All kinds of portal stuff to get into. And oh, by the way, what now? What next? What offensive lineman? One of those guys went off the board today in a kind of a way. So, like, there's a lot to unpack from the weekend on the portal, on the Longhorns, on the 2026 season. There's so much. There's like little sports things that I would love to talk to Chad about, and maybe that's just where we have to do buy or sell today because it's going to be heavy portal. Like, comment, subscribe, notifications, just punch all the buttons, and we'll see if we can't entertain you. By the way, jump into the specs chat if you're doing this thing live. Chat it up.
All right,
Chad.
Catch, there's nothing bigger than Cam Coleman. This is the one we've been waiting on.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me which of the Portal Combat intros can I play, and then you jump right out of it.
It's metal.
With a Cam Coleman.
It's the metal version. It can only be one.
It's the metal one. Cam Coleman. Let's go.
Round one. Fight! Get over here!
Cam Coleman!
Cam Coleman!
That happened, Chad.
I'm going to vomit like 2 minutes from now. Yes, it did.
It's my blood pressure medication.
Catch, it finally went down. You said that you didn't think Texas would get outbid. Late last week, you said Billy Lucci from Texags was feeling like the Longhorns were going to get it done. And once again, you and Billy meet at the truth.
It's a big deal. You know, I hadn't even watched like Cam Coleman highlights at any point during the Cam Coleman thing. I've watched Cam Coleman play football. He's freaking fantastic. And this morning I woke up and someone put out like a mix highlight tape or whatever. I think he's the most talented wide receiver I've ever seen at Texas. I don't know. That's not to say he's the best. That's to say he's almost like a souped up version of Matthew Golden in a weird way. That may be the guy that I think he kind of profiles like the most. I think Golden's a little more versatile as a receiver, but you can see Golden make catches along the sideline, and you'd go, dude, that looks like a first round draft pick, right?
Yep.
That is what Cam Coleman does. I mean, I guess I came up with, in talking with Anwar on the Overreaction Monday show, he literally arrives and he's so talented. You can talk me into there's a season that he could have that he walks away as the greatest wide receiver in school history.
Wow. No pressure, Cam.
I mean, but look, I only say that. When have I ever said that about anybody? So I think,
yeah.
Now look, what has to happen? Well, he and Arch have to connect a whole bunch. He probably has to be a first-team All-American. Texas has to win a national championship. But at the end of this, I know this. Every wide receiver that we talk about that is in the discussion for the greatest wide receiver in school history, none of them ever won a national championship. I mean, Jordan Shipley did, but he was redshirting that year because of injury. So he has a ring, but he wasn't a contributor to that team. We don't even think of the 2005 team when we really think of Jordan Shipley, other than to remember, oh, yeah, that guy started his career off with a couple of nasty season-ending injuries. By the way, Jordan Shipley, continue best wishes in terms of a full recovery. Boy, you really learn how much people are loved in situations like the one Jordan Shipley's dealing with right now. And like that guy, I don't know anybody that's ever said a bad word about Jordan Shipley. So by all means, please include him in your well wishes, your good vibes, your prayers, all that stuff. Cam Coleman's really talented. And there's nobody else that Texas has ever landed in the last 4 or 5 years in the portal that I even remotely have said any of that kind of stuff. Now, look, the bar, that's super high. No pressure, Cam. Just go have the greatest individual season in the history of the school. But
here's one. South KMX. Is Coleman our Megatron? Well, no, because Georgia Tech only had Megatron and they didn't have other guys like Texas would have had. But I kind of get the question here.
Well, they had Demaryius Thomas.
They did have Demaryius Thomas. You're right.
Those two guys, I would argue,
Those two are badasses.
Those two guys would have been number two guys at Texas, I think.
Those two are badasses. You're right.
That's an interesting garbage offenses. What on earth? Who recruited those two guys to Georgia Tech in that offense?
There's nothing better. If you want to watch guys get misused, go watch those two guys at Georgia Tech. It's hilarious. You're midway through third quarters, and it's like, they've thrown to him how many times? Oh, just once? Just the one time.
I mean, okay. J.J. Joe at Baylor used to throw the ball to Melvin Bonner more times than Calvin Johnson got the ball thrown to him.
Wow. A J.J. Joe shout out on a Monday. Well done, Drew.
That is one for the babies.
That's a good job, grew up in Waco. Well done. Well done.
That's my Baylor roots really kicking in there. Really, I mean,
you went full claw there. Well
anybody
done.
that ever doubts where was I born and raised up until the age of 10, you just found out.
JJ Joe and Lamont there at the same time. Was that similar time periods or JJ first?
No,
right?
Lamont was after JJ. JJ was like,
you're right. Yeah, that was after. You're right. You're right.
JJ was on that 91 team that went up to Colorado and beat the defending national champions, and then it kind of fell apart. But there was a moment they were riding high. Santana Dotson and that crew.
Ooh, name, good player.
So you go back to Cam Coleman. I just think that Cam Coleman by himself, even though he's not by himself, even though when you look at what now Texas has been able to accomplish in the portal, they have to address the offensive line. We will, if you're watching this. If you saw the thumbnail and you were like, what's next? Talk about the offensive line. We will. But we didn't talk about Cam Coleman a lot, and we will get to the offensive line. And believe me, we may stay there once we get there. But it's, and I think in retrospect, I have we could just do a Cam Coleman 5-hour reaction.
Yeah.
I think in retrospect, there are some signs that I think Texas had a very good indication that they led with Cam Coleman. When Cam visited, before his visit, I had somebody tell me who I trust, and look, this person hasn't bat 1,000. He thought they were going to get the Michigan guys, but generally speaking, and this guy doesn't tell me he thinks Texas is going to get somebody unless he really thinks they're going to get somebody. And you think about like Justice Terry and Anthony Hill and some of the guys that over the years he's just been spot on with. When we first did that show talking about Cam Coleman, remember I didn't want to make too much out of that part. I was like, oh, it's early. And Texas, I was saying things like Texas has confidence that they're in good position. But then the next day I showed up and I kind of confessed. I actually talked to a source that said they thought that Texas was going to get Cam Coleman. This was before all of the visits. That dude, that source never budged. Never budged. Not once. Never said, oh, hell, here comes this school, that school. There were a bunch of aha moments. He goes to A&M. Is he going to make it to A&M? Oh, my God, what happens if there are all these little things. I never once got a sense that Texas was stressed at this at all. And then you consider it's a big need position for the Longhorns, especially that with Parker Livingston and DeAndre Moore moving out. They couldn't come out of this portal without an A. And yet they were recruiting this guy. And I made this point over and over and over again this weekend. Texas isn't recruiting anybody. These receivers are coming off the board, and A&M was looking at wide receivers, and Alabama was looking at wide receivers, and Texas Tech is looking at wide receivers. All of the schools that are recruiting Cam Coleman, except for Texas, are recruiting other receivers. And Texas may have the biggest need of wide receiver of anybody, and they're just sitting there like, yeah, we're good. We're going to wait for Cam. And after Cam makes his decision, yeah, if we don't get Cam, we'll just go and do the best we can. Well, is there a time frame for Cam before you panic? No. What if Cam takes it all the way to the end? Well, I guess we'll wait till the end. It was a curious choice of behavior because nobody else was acting in that behavior. And when Trey Richardson from Vanderbilt had been mentioned, it's one of the only times I'm just letting you guys in on the process a little bit. I wouldn't say that every time a story gets reported, whatever, that we get a phone call that's like, oh, yeah, you guys got that? Good job. Or there's usually not much that you get wrong. When the Trey Richardson thing popped, and I would guess his agent or somebody at his camp floated it, probably just to make it look good. If you could get Texas, either A, let Texas know you're interested, or B, have somebody you were trying to get money from think that Texas is interested, probably can't be a bad thing. When that happened, we heard from people, hey, man, that ain't happening. That is not happening. And then they went out of their way to say, until Cam Coleman makes a decision, if you guys hear that we've even whispered into the ear of another wide receiver, don't go messing up our Cam Coleman thing. That shit ain't true. And I was just like, huh. And we reported it, right? Like, we reported it, but I think only when it's over with do you sit back and go, they knew. They just did. They had to have, because everybody else flinched and they kept acting like there wasn't a reason to flinch. And this was really high stakes poker. In the end, I don't think they could have afforded to lose this. And I think, Chad, the elation and the dopamine hit that the collective fan base felt, and it changes everything, I think, about the way the fans will think about the 2026 season. Instead of trepidation, I think there will be, we're going to beat all these teams. It is, and I think Sark has to be okay with it. He has to know what all of this, I've seen all, and I wrote about this in my 10 Thoughts on the Weekend. And as an A&M fan, I really am interested in your perspective on this, because I think it'll be A&M fans and OU fans. It'll be everybody who's closest who I think will bang this drum the most, but you're definitely going to hear it. I saw Billy even today making a comment, right? Like, it's going to be a storyline what Texas has done in the offseason. And they're not done. If they get this offensive lineman who's transferring from Wisconsin, whose mom and dad went to Indiana, he wants to go to Indiana. But if Texas just puts a big old bag of money down and it was like, hey, man, take our money. The Wisconsin guy didn't want our bag of money. Do you want our bag of money? How much is that bag of money? Well, we learned our lesson from the last time we offered a big bag of money. It is officially twice the size of the other bag of money. Do you want our bag of money or not?
Right. You're saying, you said Wisconsin twice. You meant Michigan.
I'm sorry.
Said no.
He's a Wisconsin offensive lineman who's choosing between Indiana and Texas. His parents both went to Indiana.
Gotcha. But what you're saying is Texas offered it to the Michigan guy who said no. Now they're offering it to the Wisconsin guy. Okay.
I'm suggesting, my guess is that they would try something similar. The issue with these offensive linemen and this kid from Wisconsin who's considering transferring back to Indiana, there keep being these personal mitigating circumstances that would take these otherwise slam dunks and turning them into half-court shots to some degree. And in the case with all of these offensive linemen, like, what's the holdup on this kid from Wisconsin who is between Texas and Indiana? Well, his mom and dad went to Indiana, and he probably grew up his entire life thinking about playing football at Indiana. And now, while Indiana's playing for a national championship, he has a chance to go home in his final year of college football and get paid a ton of money to probably do the thing he dreamed his entire life doing. Cool. So what's the holdup? An obscene amount of money. It is one of those things that we talk about, Chad, in life, where we ask ourselves, man, would I move to Lubbock if somebody, you know what I mean? And you and I've had these conversations before where it's like, you're going to pay me $1 million. I'll go live in Siberia. Let's just make it happen. But then in real dollars, real times, like, this young man has a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity in front of him. It's just not as crystal clear as, well, I'll just take the thing with the most amount of money. If it were, it would already be over with.
We got all kinds of portal stuff to get to. Super chat us up. We will get it right to the top of the list. I got some questions to ask Ketch before he gets too far away from this Cam Coleman deal, but I'm going to show you some lasagna first. Go celebrate Cam Coleman with some of that legendary lasagna at Taste on Main. They do it every Monday night, plus half-price bottles of wine all day. Cam Coleman doesn't need to pay half price for more, but you can at Taste on Main. They're right there in downtown Buda. Free parking right across from the building. Walk around Buda, enjoy some of this warmer weather, although it's a little chilly today. But they got you set up, whether it's cold, whether it's hot. They'll have the great food for you waiting on you. This is also my favorite casual steakhouse anywhere. So get on down to Buda and check them out. Taste on Main, right there, 116 Main Street in Buda, and tell them you heard about it here on OB Live. Also, shout out to one of our great presenting partners each and every day, Texas Card House. You see it right up there at the top, right up there. See that logo right up there? Yep. They have online poker for you. Go join Catch, Alex Dunlap, and the rest of that online crew at hijackpoker.com. Scan the QR code, download it. You can play it while you're sitting at Taste on Main enjoying some lasagna. Shout out to Texas Card House. All right, Catch, I got to ask.
What I want to do?
Yeah.
We're going to get through maybe by Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
No, because the portal will still be going on. Look, next week, not the Monday show, because Mondays are always difficult, and then there'll be the national championship and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like next Thursday. I'm gonna get inebriated on Rogue products.
Yes.
We're gonna do the show. I'm gonna play in the noon tournament on Hijack Poker.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Sounds like a good show.
That's the plan.
And if you line it up on a Thursday show and we can get Brian Jones on, then that could really.
I'm just saying on in approximately 10 days, I'm going to do a show with you where I am extremely distracted.
Yeah. Okay. ATX Bates, I see your super chat. And Kelly, that's a great question. We'll get to it. First, though, Catch, I got to ask before we get away from Cam Coleman. Can you say anything about the number? Did you hear anything about the number in the end?
I think it's between 3 and 4. I did not hear a final number.
Okay.
I thought when it was over with that we would hear the number 2 school complain about the number 1 school outbidding them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what's happened here. Instead, what has come out of some tech circles, because I've always thought that's where some of these details come out, right? It's just what happened. Well, and even if it's not the truth, it gives you parameters for, oh, okay, well, it was something, right?
Yeah.
So they were like, well, we offered the most, and he just didn't want to come here, which then allowed it to be, well, it's Arch Manning, it's the SEC. He's from the SEC. It wasn't personal. But my expectation, and I think the Texas expectation is that there would be that Texas had probably conveyed, just make sure we're the last phone call. He will not get more money elsewhere. So I just have a hard time believing that Texas didn't. I'm sure it's north of 3. Now,
and you think theirs was the biggest offer?
I don't know. I don't know that for sure. I'm just telling you in my head, literally, I just have questions about it. Like, I wonder if you're Tech, does it sound better to come out and say you weren't outbid? Because then people will say, well, why didn't you go further?
Right.
And
yeah.
I just know this. When I got suspended, when I had to volunteer for a suspension because of the Ole Miss thing in 2014, I learned something from Eric Winter, who was the CEO of Rivals at the time, where he was talking about suspensions. And he was like, don't ever put a number on it. If you put a number on it, you'll never be able to please either side, right? It's just, if you put a too small of a number on, people will complain that they didn't get a big enough number. If you put too big of a number on there, people will be like, well, look, if you got to suspend him for that long, why are you not firing him?
Yeah.
Put a indefinite slab on there.
That's why they came up with that word, I think.
Indefinite?
Indefinite, yeah. It does a lot of good heavy lifting.
And then he was very definite, though, because he was like, look, in 6 days on Saturday when Texas plays the next game, he's like, just come back like an hour before the game and nobody will pay attention or care. It'll be out of sight, out of mind. That's exactly what happened. So what are we hearing? Well, we know there was a really large number, but Texas didn't offer more. Well, what does that mean? Well, there's a very nebulous. I think we will eventually find out the number. I think it's under 4. I think it's above 3. And I know that Texas would have gone to 4 if they needed to. I guess that's the part that's a little questionable to me. Okay. I literally had it expressed to me, if it means we've got to go to 4 to get Cam Coleman, fuck it, we'll go to 4.
I got you. Okay.
And,
So
and to hear a Texas Tech person say we bid 3.5 and Texas didn't go further than that, that's not what it ended up being about. I don't know. I don't know. Like I'm not inside the negotiations. What I'm telling you is Texas was willing to go whatever the distance was. And the other side, to some degree, is saying that everybody stopped the race, a 100-meter race at that 90-meter mark and just shook hands and let Texas win. There's a little bit of like, I can't completely figure out how the end happened. But okay. Texas gets their guy. And then I can't stress enough, within an hour to then flip Hollywood Smothers away from Alabama and then to get him signed, which felt like in one fell swoop. Hey, he's committed. He's flipped from Alabama. Hey, he's signed. He's good to go. Same with Cam Coleman. Those were done. And I was like, okay, well, there are no accidents in life. The end of The Godfather just occurred on a Sunday in Austin, and they got those two guys within an hour, and Trevor Goosby's coming back, and Connor Robertson's coming back, and Zena's coming back, and suddenly in about an hour and a half, 2 hours, the 2026 football season felt more certified. There's more to do. Look, and I don't get a million questions. They have to get offensive linemen. Yep. They know it. They have to get them in volume. They know it. They have to get them in some level of quality. They know it. I think they will do it. I think there will then be a conversation that we're going to have the entire offseason about what might it mean if the offensive line is only as good as it was a year ago. What's the conversation sound like if quarterback, running back, and wide receivers are all better? Can that mitigate some of the lack of improvement that maybe you weren't able to make on the offensive line? I think there's a conversation there. They want an edge. They want a linebacker. I expect all three of those areas to be addressed this week. So this wasn't the finish line, even if it feels like Texas was able to take a little bit of a 24-hour victory lap because yesterday was so big. But there's a lot to do. It's an A++ portal class if you exclude the offensive line, but you can't. You just can't. It is like a couple of years ago when edge was the biggest position in recruiting that Texas had to get somebody in. Do you remember, Chad? Mm-hmm. And that made Colin Simmons that particular year, because of that particular need, it made him more valuable than any other number one player they could have got because they had to get somebody at that position. They did. But if they had missed out, you couldn't then say, well, everything else was great, except for you didn't feel the need, the biggest need that you had as an institution, as a program. So, like, the offensive line's got to figure itself out. In one way, they've got plenty of time to figure it out. But in another way, they've got less than 5 days until the portal closes on the 16th before guys can, except for the teams in the playoffs and I guess in the national championship game specifically, those guys can extend it out a little bit longer. And then obviously if you're a grad transfer, they could scour the junior college and the grad transfer market and potentially do some things there. But the talent pool like cements itself off from, what's available in just a few days. So there's a lot of stuff that they can still do, but they haven't done everything yet. They've got a commitment from a guy that I'm not even sure is good enough yet to play at a school like Texas. I think he can get there. They got to do more.
ATX Bates, I see your super chat, but we got breaking news. Catch Cody Carpentier jumped in earlier and said Warren Roberson in the portal. He is seeing it official per Fawcett. You got a comment here. Warren Roberson, a guy who had his issues on special teams, started to find a little bit of himself towards the end of the year, but now apparently is headed elsewhere.
Interesting, because Kobe Black goes into the portal, and then Texas is able to talk Kobe Black back out of the portal. Then Warren Roberson goes in. I'm not surprised. Warren Roberson falls into the category of really good squad player. He played a lot. He played actually pretty well in the bowl game, but he's not a guy that I think Texas ever thinks to themselves, we want that guy starting for us in a ball game and playing every snap. And because if they did, Well, Malik Muhammad just moved on, and Warren Roberson could be next on deck. But that's not what happened. They went into the portal because Kobe Black was ready to go. So there really was a little bit of an open pathway for Warren Roberson to go to have a chance to emerge as a starter this year. And Texas goes out and spends big money to get Bo Masco in from Rutgers. Everybody knows that Cade Phillips is going to be on the other side. Roberson is stuck in the friend zone with regards to getting into the starting lineup. He's going to play, but he's not going to be in a frontline place unless there are injuries. And Texas, I think, is telling him, like, we don't think you're the guy. Otherwise, they could just let Warren Roberson elevate himself up and focus elsewhere. And they didn't. Bo Masco is one of the first guys that they addressed in the portal. That was a need I felt was pretty urgent. The Texas coaches agreed with me. He's just in purgatory a little bit. Now, look, in the old days, if Warren Roberson just wanted to get a degree and live a happy life and he enjoyed playing football, he would just stay put. And he'd fight his way through. But these dudes all have like NFL aspirations. And the one thing none of them want to do is get caught in purgatory, where it just feels like their wheels are spinning a little bit. Warren Roberson's in kind of a weird place. He's in no man's land. They're telling him probably not going to be a starter here. But we do want you to stay, but we also probably don't want to pay you very, very much at all. So, I don't know that there's a lot of money for him in the market, but there will be opportunities to play and probably opportunities to play for at least the amount of money that Texas would prefer him to be on. These things become more complicated and nuanced than they were a couple of years ago or 5 years ago or 10 years ago. The financial compensation part can't be dismissed. It is a part of this. And, you're going to lose. And I think this is also a byproduct of that Texas recruits really well. So they're at a point now. We've seen Georgia and Ohio State lose players that other schools have scooped up. And they've used them really well. Caleb Downs is an Alabama transfer. He was there, and then he went to Ohio State. So almost everybody else in the country has been kicked in the where really hard because of the transfer portal. And Texas has been living this good life, and I don't think they get enough credit for this, where they have not really lost anybody that they would throw themselves in front of a bus for. They just haven't. I mean, even now, we're quibbling over Trey Wisner or a DeAndre Moore. I think they could use DeAndre Moore back, but let's not kid ourselves and make it out to be something that's too big of a thing. So, I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
All right. Yeah.
I punt.
Wow. There you go. All right.
ATX with Roberson, shit happens. I think we're going to see probably a few more of those in the next couple of days. And the reaction will be exactly the exact same reaction. It's going to be a guy that they want to keep. And it's probably going to be a guy, though, that they don't want to keep at a certain cost. And I think those situations are going to lead to these types of situations that we'll see in the future, which is just, it'll sting. You'll be like, oh, I didn't want that guy to leave. And in the last couple of years, last year we spent the whole summer talking about Amari Niblack being the worst departure that they had, and was like, even a week ago, I was like, was Amari Niblack even any good? We didn't even pay attention to him. There will be guys that have transferred out, Chad, that for the first time, and you know this, did you keep up with Walter Nolan? You keep up with these things. There will be guys that Texas has had leave that Texas fans will keep up with more than they did with Malik Murphy. They'll keep up with DeAndre Moore. And if that guy has 1,000 yards somewhere, there will be people on Orange Bloods who are like, I told you guys we shouldn't have let DeAndre Moore walk, and he was better than anything that we had. And he's the reason why we didn't want to like that. That's just waiting out there. And those situations didn't really occur when you would lose a Sadir Mitchell. And that was about as stinging of a departure as you might see in a class.
ATX Bates for $4.99. Thank you, Bates. Tinfoil hat time. Sark knew he was getting Cam, but wanted Cam to drive the market up for the other schools as to make them overpay for backup portal wide receivers. Price was going to be big anyway, right?
Dude, Texas is just thankful this thing went their way. Like it was, they didn't have it like that. I don't even think they officially knew until they officially knew. I just think they got a stronger, and Anwar mentioned this. So this part's not really my information, but Anwar had heard from his sources that throughout the last week, Coleman had really been keeping in touch with Texas people. That's not an insignificant thing, because I'll be honest with you. There are times I am texting with people, and in a moment I can stop and never have to text with them again. It is such a relief. So, like I doubt this guy just wanted to be texting with Ryan Wingo forever. By the way, props to Ryan Wingo to hear that this guy was a point man and a lead guy in recruiting Cam Coleman, and that without Ryan Wingo's efforts, they probably don't get Cam Coleman. Speaks really well about the maturity level of Ryan Wingo. And I tell you what, if you're thinking about like who gets to be at the front of the line in off-season workouts and maybe deserves a C on their shirt, I bet he'll be under consideration next year. That's what leadership looks like. And so I think Texas had indications, but I don't think they knew. I don't think they've manipulated the market. And I also think Texas has made up some of this stuff on the fly. They really wanted Rasheem Biles. They probably would have liked to have sewn that up in week 1 and not flirted with some of the other schools that he looked at. They're not trying to they didn't want Cam Coleman visiting other schools. Let's just make sure everybody understands that.
Well, yeah.
They didn't want him going to Alabama just because.
That's where
never good.
I'm sure when Texas folks hear us talking about the first 5 days of the portal, because the second 5 days of the portal, they got after it. But the first 5 days were not what they wanted. But they're probably screaming at us. It's not like we didn't try to make the first 5 days awesome. We tried.
Can I give you an old school recruiting story?
Sure.
Do you remember Brody Croyle?
Brody Croyle, the quarterback that ended up at Bama?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the number 1 quarterback in the country once upon a time. He was from Alabama, but he had committed to Florida State.
Okay.
Now, look, everything I'm about to say is alleged. It's all alleged.
Allegedly.
But I would just say, believe me, I don't just walk. I have no Brody Croyle grudges. I don't otherwise. This is a story that I don't think has been told a lot, but it is remembered. Like in the state of Alabama, people will know this story. If you ask Florida State fans, they will know this story. Old school recruiting heads. So Brody Croyle was committed to go to Florida State. And I can't remember if it was a day before signing day or what, but this kid had been hardcore Florida State. I think that's right. And then either a week before maybe I just should do a Google search, or like the day before signing day, it is alleged, not even an Alabama coach, I want to say at the time, some recruiting reporter in my industry went into Brody Croyle's house, spent like an hour there. This is like an old urban legend. Walks out of the house, and all we know is that Brody Croyle basically came out of that meeting committed to Alabama.
Damn.
And that's how he ended up at Alabama. And look, the thing is like, he was the Quinn Ewers for UT back, right? This was not the Alabama that Nick Saban had built. This is pre-Nick Saban. They're chasing their glory days. And here we have an in-state quarterback, and he was going to go to Florida State and play with Bobby Bowden. And sometimes you don't let guys have meetings. Sometimes you don't take that chance. That's the only reason why I tell that story, because this idea that they would have been trying to manipulate the market, they didn't want that kid going to Alabama.
No.
Things have historically been known to change the moment that Alabama gets face to face with the kid.
Yeah, and that's why I do have an Alabama question for you at some point. I don't know when it will be asked, but we'll get to that. Kelly, I see your question in the chat as well. If y'all want to jump in and get your super chats in, we will get to that. Also, let me hit you with a little AV consultations because I'm getting hit from all sides. I got bigger screens every damn where. My next door neighbor got a bigger screen. Then I see my brother-in-law over the holidays. Guess what he did? Got a bigger screen. Dadgummit, if somebody's out screening you, this is the place that can make sure you're up to date. AV consultations, 255-8678. Get the bigger screen, the better screen, more screens. The speakers all set up perfectly. Make sure the kids can't pull on cords and rip stuff down. Let them handle every detail, just like they've been doing for so many people since 1988. You will love the way you're treated. Make 2026 that year where you get the family movie room you've always wanted so you can watch Arch throw those passes to Cam Coleman. AV Consultations, 255-8678, or go to avconsultations.com. Get it done today. We don't have any super chats at the moment, but Catch, kind of lead us to maybe back to the O-line a little bit, because Kelly, one of our favorites, asked, are we seeing anyone from Ole Miss? When it comes to the O-line discussion, Catch, isn't there a name of a guy that's gone into the portal from Ole Miss that Texas probably should be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, look, Delano Townsend is a every game starter for Ole Miss. Played over 900 snaps this season for them.
Damn.
So, and look, I just have his PFF page. It's been up for like a day. I haven't had a reason to look up anybody else. So I've just had this Delano Townsend page in front of me.
Okay.
And look, he played. This is a guy that last season played against LSU and played against Georgia and played against Oklahoma and played against Florida. You know what I mean? This guy.
Yeah. Was he all over the line or was he at one spot?
No, he's guard.
Okay, guard.
But, you know, he's played Georgia twice and he's played Miami, and like he's played in games against the best of the best. And he was not such a liability as a starter that they couldn't beat Georgia. Right? So he's good enough to start for a team that beat Georgia, and that's what Texas is trying to be. Mm-hmm. Texas right now, I don't even think feels like they've got some guys that could go to Ole Miss, and this guy's an upgrade of what they have. Is this guy an upgrade over what they used to have? I don't know. Like I don't know that I would say he's better than DJ Campbell. He's probably a wash with Cole Hudson. Although what I would say is I think the most underrated player in college football. By the way, I think my wife is just outside the house. And so my dogs are just so obsessed with my wife.
Dogs. Mama. Woo-hoo.
I mean, that's a story of my life.
They bark at her like that dude barks at his boss in that commercial. Just unnecessarily.
It really sucks when she's out of town, Chad. Like out of town?
I bet.
I have to hang up tarps over the front door. Because if a light it so much as flashes in the street, it turns into like a hotel fire alarm. I don't know if you've ever been in a hotel when one of those things happens.
Where it won't stop. Yeah.
It's just almost nauseating. Yeah. Hey,
when dogs pick their people, they pick their people. Ain't nothing we can do about it.
I was thinking about that very much like in Twilight. Once you get imprinted, you get imprinted.
Yeah, it's done. Finished.
Oh, did your daughter ever take you through the Twilight stage?
You know what? My daughter never did.
Did she miss that just because of age? Like that would have been.
No, my wife eventually got her into it, and she had a mild Twilight phase. She didn't go hardcore Twilight. She's more of a Harry Potter girl than a Twilight girl, but she did a Twilight for a little bit.
Well, fair. Sometimes the Harry Potters turn into.
Yeah, she had mainly Harry Potter with like a side of Twilight. That's what she had.
Fair enough. So look, this dude's serviceable. And right now serviceable will do. And if you can find something better than serviceable, and again, I love this dude at Wisconsin. I think he's a guy you could genuinely look at and say, but the point that I was making is I think the most underrated guy in college football is the 21 about to become 22 or the 22 about to become 23. Like I really think we're learning in college football in the trenches. Old man strength, knowledge, experience is worth its weight in gold. And this Indiana team is proof of that. I think the Michigan team a couple of years ago, I think very quietly, Indiana has replicated what Michigan did with a slightly different methodology. But The guts of these two teams are very similar. What made Michigan unique? I remember that year what made Michigan unique from Texas was that Michigan had way more old guys. I remember writing about it. I was just like, not all these guys are going to be NFL guys, but they're just the lineup's full of guys that are just good.
It's like you were playing BYU back in the day.
Yes, a little bit. It's like an elevated version of that.
Yep.
That is what they've been able to do at Indiana. It is almost like, what is the secret sauce? He's realized, you know what? It is really hard to meld 50 guys in a recruiting class together and make it work. But we're going to have to do that at Indiana because we're Indiana. It'll be interesting to watch how he recruits and changes the dynamics as what's possible for him changes a little bit. Like they're recruiting against Texas right now for an offensive lineman, and they're the favorite. So what is this bizarro world that we live in? But he's realized, Chad, well, they're all 22 and 23 and 24 years old. And if they're grad seniors, all the better. The more guys that have been around for 5 or 6 years that we can get together, you know what? Those guys actually adapt to new programs and like new ways better than the others. And it's like, well, why is that? Well, because they're closer to renting a car than they are to just getting their driver's license. Oh, makes sense. And I think, look, I'm captain of the stars matter, super blue chips matter. They still matter a lot, but there's a counterpunch. The counterpunch that we're learning in 2 of the last 3 seasons, and not everybody's been able to do it, but 2 teams have, and they both might win national championships. It is negate athletic skill with old man toughness and know-how. And look, I would have normally laughed this thing out of the building, but Indiana is showing off in real time just how much what they're doing can somewhat mitigate what has dominated college football in the last decade and a half. That's half a generation of football has been dominated really by one method: out-talent everybody. They're doing it a different way. It doesn't feel like it's an accident. If you are Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, you have to be looking at this, Chad, and A&M for that matter, because they're in this weight class as well. What is actually the perfect blend then of what we do? Because they can't really do what we do. They can't sign 8 5-stars if they want to. But we have to do more of what they're doing. What is the perfect blend? It is a conversation that we've had with Sark a bunch, right? Where Sark's like, I don't know that I could ever take 30 guys in a portal. Sark, you're halfway there now. Like, can you imagine it now? And is it 25? Is it 20? Is it 50? Like, I don't know. We are in the first of the simulations. And so we're going to learn a lot from all of this. I think, Chad, you've heard me say this before. The thing that I would give Texas some real credit for today, this goes against their instincts. 2 months ago, Steve Sarkisian was telling us this is not how I want to run a football program. And 2 months later, they flipped it on its head, and it's as if they've decided. It's like that person who's like, I'm not going to work out. I hate workouts. Screw it. You know, I just will never work out. I'm just going to smoke 8 packs of cigarettes a day and drink all day. And then they're like, you know what? I think I'll go to a gym. And then a week later, they're like, I'm preparing for a marathon. You're like, wait, what? Wait, how have we gone from you hate working out to we won't ever hang out again because you're on a marathon diet and training set? What's going on? And there's a little bit that's happened here. Texas has gone from, they don't really feel like that to, if we're going to do it, let's just be the best. Let's be freaks about it. And it's interesting. I don't even know where it stops. Where does kind of this extreme change of behavior stop? Maybe we'll find out with Wisconsin offensive lineman Joe Brunner. Maybe we'll find out with this kid from Mississippi. Texas has, to be quite frank and honest about it, some real desperate needs there. Like, really. Alex Dunlap put the depth chart, if there was a game today for the offense on Orange Bloods today, and people were throwing up in their mouths. It was bad. It was bad. It's not good yet. And that has to be rectified. And so all of the talk has been about what they've already done. Offensive line, edge, linebacker. Do they still have $3 or $4 million type players in them? That would be, again, Chad, we're going to get to a point, and this is where I want your opinion. Texas has always been okay with, we'll be second in spending. I've heard this my entire time I've covered Texas. And matter of fact, I used to have a really important people tell me, we love it whenever other people break the barriers and payments and stuff like that, because then we can do those. Texas used to operate under a philosophy of, well, we don't want to be seen as the school that is so desperate for athletics success that it looks like we're desperate. So if somebody pays 7, we'll pay 6.9, and everybody can, the person who's paying 7 can be talked about, and we'll just sneak under the radar as the second highest paid. And you'll always notice, like, there's always that kind of thing going on for Texas. Their coaches will get bumps to make sure they're kind of in the top 5, but never number 1. They wouldn't want to do that. So you go into the portal, and Texas has watched Texas Tech kind of do their thing and flex and brag about it. And Texas has been thinking, well, there's now rules. This is all going to be regulated. It's not going to be crazy town anymore. Except it turned into crazy town. And Texas' response this one time, who knows if we'll ever even see this again, was to say, oh, you guys want to go to crazy town? Let's go to crazy town. And they go out and get Cam Coleman, and they go out and get Racine Biles when that just felt like it came out of nowhere. They got their first choice at corner. They got probably the 2 best running backs that actually, well, they're healthy. I mean, I think the best running back in the portal right now is Justice Haynes, but I don't know what's up with him. He may want a couple of million. I don't know if he's going to be healthy in the spring. Maybe Texas just got the 2 otherwise best available. You've seen them attack. They just got to do the offensive line. But the story, I think, moving forward in the offseason is going to be, did you see what Texas did? All offseason long, it's going to be, did you see what they spent on Cam Coleman? Did you see what they spent on getting 2 of those running backs? It's going to be talked about that they took Hollywood Smothers away from Alabama and basically did it with their checkbook. I mean, talk about putting a money sack on the table and flexing. They took a kid that Alabama was desperate for. That kid had begged Alabama. He basically committed himself to Alabama coming out of NC State.
Yeah, this is one of my questions I need you to help me with, because I thought he was done. How did it go from done? Did Cam Coleman go to recruit him? I mean, how did that happen where he was Bama and then he wasn't?
Look,
he just didn't sign?
Did you think I was full of shit when I was telling you? I think they're open to the idea of pairing Jaden Baugh and Isaac Brown together. Do you remember when I said that?
Yeah, it made total sense. They need to be pairing running backs together. They don't have 2 good ones.
But remember where it was like you've got none, and are both of these guys who, if they stay put, are the stars?
Yeah.
Are they, even for more money, are they coming to a situation where they knowingly enter a real timeshare where maybe you're 1B? And I know that Texas can point to Ohio State and say, look how it worked out for those 2 dudes. They're in the NFL. Is anybody asking who started on that team? Doesn't matter. They're both doing it, right? So I think you could make the sales pitch, but telling these 2 guys to pick up and uproot is one thing. I'm a little stunned about it, honestly, because even though they've been saying all along they wanted a 1A and a 1B, I thought maybe keep an eye on Justice Haynes a little bit. He's more of a alternative to the style of Raleigh Brown. So the reason why I didn't think it made a lot of sense was because they profile pretty similarly. Once you realize they're okay with that, and that might actually be a positive and a thing that they're looking for, then you start to think about the possibilities of, well, hey, man, no matter what happens, as long as one of those 2 guys is healthy, you've always got a real weapon, an all-purpose weapon. And then you start thinking about, oh my God, have fun with the defense when both of those guys are in the backfield together and then one motions out wide. And then you just are constantly trying to figure out who is where and what do we do with them. And then, oh, by the way, slap Cam Coleman on the field and y'all just figure that out, defense. We know we have our play called. You guys just do what you want to. Texas overnight in one day, I think, put themselves into a position to be the scariest offense in college football. If two things, they fix the offensive line, the skill positions are good for the most part. They could be better at tight end, but let's just not be overly picky here. They will have a first-team All-SEC receiver and a second-team All-SEC wide receiver as their top two receivers, and they will have two all-conference running backs in the backfield together or sharing a backfield role together. Not a lot of teams in college football get to just say that. In fact, I don't think any do. So, A, they got to fix the offensive line, and then B, Sark's got to figure it out. Trust me, I am a fan of Liverpool soccer. They spent like $1 billion, not quite that much, but it was like 500 million or 600 million American dollars on players, and they were the best team in England a year ago. So the thought was, well, they spent all this money. They got all the best players. They will be better, and it has not worked out that way. Trust me, it's a different sport, different set of circumstances, but I've seen what it looks like when you're really good, you get the best players, and then you go backwards because sometimes it takes time to be a cohesive unit and to come together. And if it were easy, everybody would do what Indiana is doing right now. But boy, assuming that they can fix the offensive line to some degree and that Sark's got his money game on, Texas is must-see TV next year on offense. You're telling me they've got those two running backs. They've got Arch Manning at quarterback. They've got Cam Coleman, who's allowed now. I'm just thinking about who Cam Coleman has played football with at quarterback. And I'm thinking about some of the balls just in the Michigan game that Arch threw, where it was like, oh, damn, that's a throw, man. That is a throw.
Yeah. That's the part of it that's not being talked enough about, Catch. The SEC brotherhood from Auburn to Texas now. Auburn kept him that fresh for Texas. You look at his stats from last year and how much better they could have been. It's not because he's failing them left and right. It's because he was at Auburn with that guy throwing him the ball. Like, it is the best version of Cam Coleman you could hope for if you're Texas. He's not overused, is my point.
Correct. And, I mean, I'm telling you, I think he's the most talented wide receiver. I think he's more fluid of an athlete than Roy Williams is.
Wow. Okay.
Now, that's not to say he's better than Roy, because I don't think we've seen him be that good yet. He hasn't had an opportunity to be. But, man, he's got some freaky, like, AJ Green stuff to his game where he's playing a different game than everybody else. And if you go just watch what he does at Auburn, when you watch some of the catches that he makes, it's like, can they just throw him the ball normal? Why does every ball have to be something that he has to show off his incredible ball range skills? It's like he's having to stop like he's Spider-Man or something and grab a ball. And it's just, he does some freaky stuff. And I've seen some really good Texas wide receivers, but I haven't seen Xavier Worthy's speed. Freaky. Roy Williams is just kind of raw athleticism. Freaky. I've still never seen another Roy Williams come through here. Mm-hmm. But there's a little something about Cam Coleman that is just that Matthew Golden may be the closest that we've seen to that guy can just do that, and nobody else that's ever walked through these doors can do it. I think he's got a little bit slightly more of an elevated athletic prowess, maybe because it's just he's bigger. 6'3.5". He is a monster.
Yeah. By the way, they lost that game, but man, Golden made some plays for the Packers the other day. Oh my goodness.
It was like, oh, I was just like, you know what I came away thinking?
Big passes.
He's still really good. They just got to figure, they just got to get him figured out.
Yeah, it's exactly right. I see that super chat, Logan. I will get to it after we talk a little bit of drinking. If you're going drinking, go out. How about the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room Wednesdays through Sundays? Make your plans. Get out there. Do a little day drinking. Have some great barbecue. Chill out with your friends. If it's a little cool, they've got the heaters. If it's a little warm, they've got the fans. They've got indoor and outdoor seating ready for you. Get on out there and see them. That is always a good plan. We've been out to the Deep Eddy Vodka Tasting Room a couple times. Now, if you're staying in to drink, you might need to get stocked up. And you know who does that? It's Specs.
Shop Specs! 60 years in the Lone Star State. A one-stop shop so you're never late. Price is so low that you want to know
Which way to Specs?
Come on, let's go.
Specs, fine spirits and finer foods. World-class service, that's all about you. Shop Specs!
It's how we do. A huge selection since 62.
Shop Specs!
Low priced, amazing. Here's to you.
Shop.
Cheers to savings.
Shout out to Lisa and the crew from Specs. Get stocked up today. Logan for
That's a
$4.99.
bop, Chad. That's just a bop.
It'll get stuck in your head. And I love getting stuck in those aisles at Specs just for minutes on end. Catch, help me with this one. You think Texas staff is thinking that paying top heavy is also worth it now, since one bad season because of injuries is fixable in the portal next year? It's a
Dude,
deep,
this stuff's, they're making this up as they go.
deep
And
question.
I also don't even know if they know what next year will look like. So it's such a radical transformation again from what they would have said about themselves 2 months ago. I don't know that the Texas staff is thinking anything right now other than the portal ends on Friday. We have more needs that we need to get addressed. The evaluation and the collecting players can continue through all summer. They can continue to, there are going to be thousands of players who are in the portal who don't have homes that they can scout and go through and say, can that guy help us at all? Is it worth just helping him build out our depth chart, our third team, our second team, whatever? They can do that. And they will do that. But I think the only thing they're thinking right now is we need some offensive linemen. I don't think they're thinking at all like, hey, we'll do this again next year. And can it even be done next year? I don't know. 2027 is not really, truly on anybody's brain right now. It probably should be.
No.
But Texas is loading up in a way for Arch Manning's presumed last season in a way that they just didn't a year ago. They will not let this opportunity go without being able to look themselves in the mirror and say, we did everything we could in that final year. And if we came up short, we came up short, but it wasn't because we were worried about what people would say about how much money we spent.
Catch a couple just regular chats here real quick, though. Benny threw this out. Jordan Washington, portal or no portal? I can't keep
Yeah,
up
signed with North Carolina.
He did. Okay. All right. So there you go, Benny. He did get in the portal and has found a new home. This one I like. Just says, LOL. We already have that reputation, Catch. According to the national media, just embrace the hate. Yes, Major. That's exactly
But
what
it's one thing.
they need to do.
They've not been the poster boy for spending in college football. They will be for the next 12 months. They will be.
Yep. They should. They finally got around to it. They finally heard me. I can't remember how long I've been telling them to be Texas. Feels like maybe they're going to be Texas this time. Also, this one, Catch, from Vivek and others are throwing out that the Aggies have the #1 portal class, according to On3 right now. What elite players did they get? You mentioned the Aggies got a player way at the beginning of the show, but you never said who it was.
Well, they got Isaiah Horton, the wide receiver from Alabama. A&M's got a good class.
Okay.
I don't know how any of these on 3 24/7, because in 24/7, Texas is the #1 portal class, at least, I think. I didn't check today. I don't know how they do that. They're still trying to figure out how do you even grade. You know who didn't have the #1 portal class in the country last year? Indiana. They didn't.
But they did a good job in the portal.
They did.
Yeah.
We didn't know. We're still trying to figure out how to manage the portal thing. What I would say is Alabama, let me hold on, just so that so of the guys, in addition to Horton, who I look, if Texas, Horton was the best of the Cam Coleman. If you're not going to get Cam Coleman, what's the next best thing that you can do? I think based on the guys that are actually in the portal, Isaiah Horton is about as good as you can do. I think if you're an A&M fan, you're looking at the addition of Isaiah Horton. That's really exciting to pair that guy with Mario Craver. Like, I think that you feel like you got a couple badass wide receivers. They'll feel really good about what they did there. Other guys that they got, Tawfiq Bayard. I don't know how to say his name, Chad. But
Bayard, that's the cornerback, DB, right?
Cornerback from Colorado.
Right.
We've got him ranked 44th in our Orange Bloods rankings. One of the reasons why I ranked him higher than most of the other people, Cody Carpentier stood on the table for him and said, I really like that guy. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
If Cody says it, I'm okay with that. They got Ricky Gibson, the cornerback out of Tennessee. Like
and they did pretty good work on the O-line too, right?
They've quite honestly done what Texas is now going to try to do.
Yeah.
They got nobody that was actually good, but they got like 4 guys that played a lot of football and played big time football. And I think if we're going to follow the Indiana kind of, we'll call it the Cole Hudson program.
Mm-hmm.
If you can wait it out those first 3 years and then get to a 4th or to a 5th year, you could have a serviceable player. It's just harder and harder and harder at the highest levels of college football to have either guys or a program say, we'll be really patient. You go marinate until the end of the decade, and then we'll be ready for you. Nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to say that. Nobody wants to do that. So it's just tricky. But I think A&M's portal class has helped them out quite a bit. I would not be dismissive of what A&M has done in the portal. I think it's been a good portal class. I don't know if it's the number one. I wouldn't call it the number, because I know this. If it was, but I have some Longhorn confirmation bias to a certain extent. You know, I'm covering the Texas stuff so closely that I don't know. Let me give you an example. I'm just trying to think. You know, like the kid, the tackle that Texas got from Oregon State. Nobody who's covering A&M has watched that guy. And I've watched that guy when nobody else should have watched the guy. And A&M's got guys that, quite frankly, I haven't spent much time looking at. What the hell do I know about some of these dudes other than I looked at their Pro Football Focus pages and was like, okay, well, that's what Pro Football Focus thinks. I don't even know what that means, but at least I know what they thought. Most of these guys, all these guys that are in the portal, Pro Football Focus hated.
Yeah.
That may be the funniest thing is
Pro Football Focus is not the agent for all these players. They're not.
Not for the offensive lineman. He's not.
No, not for O-lineman. Don't go look at those. Don't go look at those grades, kids. That's not going to be good. JR, I see your super chat. We will get to that in 1 second. Let me tell you about sinus and snoring specialists. You know what I did last night? I had a great night's sleep. You know what my wife did? Same thing. Hers was with the CPAP. Mine's a little different path, but they can fix you up. The sinus issues, the allergy stuff you've been dealing with. And yes, all that damn snoring, the loud rumbling, sawing logs like my granddad used to talk about. Yeah, they can fix that. They can deal with that, and they can get rid of your allergies for good. I haven't had to worry about allergies since 2017. It's been fantastic. I'm almost to 9 years. When we get to late March, it'll be 9 years since I went in to sinus and snoring specialists. Check them out yourself. 601-0303. Securely call them or text them on that number. Hit sinussnoringent.com if you want to see it on the website. You can see videos and a lot of great information there to get you started. Check them out. Feel clear, rested, and healthy with sinus and snoring specialists. Please tell them you heard about it here on Orange Bloods Live, or maybe mention my name when they ask, hey, how the hell did you hear about it? Say, well, that handsome bastard Chad Hastings told me about it. They love it when you call me handsome bastard. Try it. It'll work, I promise. All right, Catch. Here we go. This is
Can I interrupt you for a moment?
Wow, that'd be a first. Yes, go ahead.
In the last minute. I did let you get through that read without interrupting you.
I appreciate it.
Pat on the back for me.
Yeah, baby.
The ultimate narcissism. I'm patting my back on for not interrupting you during a paid spot.
You go, Catch.
Yeah, I'm taking it to new levels today. I thought that spot. Look, the issue is, do you want me to say the thing that was in my head that I kind of want to say, but I'm warning you, you might want to just say no. So, do you want to hear what popped into my head and where I thought you were going with the beginning of your read?
No, you can tell me after the show's done.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can
That's
tell me
good.
after-
It involved your wife.
Exactly. I figured it did. So I do not. I would rather not hear that at this particular moment. I would love though for JR's $4.99 super chat to take over. JR says Texas has been forced into this position because they can't develop the young talent faster than outbound portal movement.
I mean, there's definitely
A little bit of that.
sure. I think that
Yeah.
my thing is these blanket statements are really hard. It's like grade the portal class. And it's like, well, if we can eliminate the offensive line, I think it's an A++. And it's like, well, how important is the offensive line? Well, it is the thing that we said was the most important thing they had to address. Oh, so what does that make the A++?
Yeah.
It's just
If you're a Texas fan, we better find out, right? That's what every Texas fan is thinking. Like, all right, if you really know all of it, you're thinking, okay, there's all of that and one dude from Oregon State. Where's the rest of it? The next 5 days better answer that question.
Now, look, there are some positions where the development has been better than others. There are some positions where the development has been average. There are some positions where the development has been below average.
And
all of these positions and players have JR, you're not wrong. You're right. I just think, not in the blanket statement sense, but in the vagueness, generalness of, is this a thing? It is. But it wouldn't be the thing that I would say is widespread, but I do think it is a serious part of what they're dealing with.
And it's specific, JR, to me, it's specifically why they need all those offensive linemen that they still haven't gotten and that they have to go get. Because I would argue that's definitely a spot where they're not developing those guys. That's why part of why they're
ends this window ends and they haven't figured it out. Whatever that means, they haven't figured it out. Then I don't know. It's like a sports team that has a high draft pick that, it's a chance to get a quarterback. And then you don't take a quarterback, and then all the quarterbacks you could have taken, or like we're keeping score a little bit. You know what I mean? And and I think that again, I think this is just I think everybody has to have a real appreciation. This is unprecedented territory. It's unprecedented for Texas in the ways that it's unprecedented for Texas, but it's unprecedented for the entire sport. Like, put that back up. Because I would say the other thing that I would add is that that's everybody. Everybody is somewhat dealing with this as an issue of how do you keep your players. It's certainly with the major programs. Maybe, and you know who gets to be major and suddenly has rich man problems? Indiana, a little bit. Eventually, they will get to a point where they're shopping in a different class. They already are kind of doing that. They'll have players that have expectations. A lot of what they just went through, a lot of guys with a certain kind of profile. Well, when you get really, really good, the level of profile changes. You can get a different type of mentality. Will they be able to check themselves? Will they be able to say, you know what, even though we've got more money, I say we only spend about 50% of it because that's how we did it last year. We won the national championship. Or do you say, what can we do?
Well, Catch, you just answered the question. You're a baseball fan. Remember that year when you thought to yourself, man, the Yankees aren't even being the Yankees. Yeah, me either. Be the Yankees every year. Every year. There should never be a year where Texas asks themselves, should we do this or should we back off? Should we? No. Be that one brand you can be. Put the brand together with the money you have. Nobody else has that. Nobody does. They're bitching at Bama. They're bitching at Bama today, Catch. They're griping at Bama because of what Texas just did to them. Nobody else could have done that to Bama. So why did Sark come to Texas? Did he come to Texas just because he likes orange? No. He came to Texas because it's specific. You need to be specific every single year. Don't wait. Don't back off. Don't say, well, this year we don't need it. Yeah, you do. You're Texas. Go be Texas. and let them say what they want. That would be my advice, and has been for years.
You know, once upon a time back in the day, I used to care what Aggie fans and OU fans thought about me.
Really?
You know, like a long time ago.
I was going to say, is that before we met? Because we met in 08.
Well, look, man, I've been doing this a long time. I started this when I was in college.
Right.
So
I know.
the educational process
Mhm.
takes time.
So how much did you care by the time when you met me?
I don't even know. Probably more than I do now.
That's fine.
There just gets to be a point where you bang your head into the wall and people just hate you no matter what. And I've had conversations with my kids about this. They're like, why do OU fans hate you? And I'm like, well, because I cover Texas football. And they're like, anything else? And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of a smart aleck. And sometimes I say smart aleck things and they don't like that. But, you know, I've never really done anything to anybody. I've never hurt anybody. I've never been accused of a scandal. I mean, I'm a little bit of like, you know, I'm just a little bit of a loudmouth, but like I'm harmless. And it was like, but they hate you. And it's like, I know. And at some point, you just realize you're never going to win that battle. You know, and you give into it, Chad. I don't know that it's a good thing. I don't know that it walks around. And if I see an OU fan, it's like, oh. Like I have a niece, my wife's niece, who, because I married her, is my niece. My wife reminds me of that all the time. Those are your nieces too. Those are your nephews too. I always say that wedding through marriage is not real family. What?
Wedding through marriage is
Our
not
marriage
real.
family through marriage.
Oh, okay. Well, it's like,
You know, like I'm not calling her uncle my uncle, kind of a thing.
wow. Okay, you're hardcore. That's interesting.
Is that hardcore?
A little bit? Yeah.
Well, I don't know, man. Like I grew up in a world where people called themselves cousins, but they were play cousins.
Yeah. No, I got it.
It kind of feels like your play uncle, where it's like, well, I'm not blood. Would you be their uncle if you got divorced from your wife today? I don't know, man. I don't think I'd be Uncle Ketch or Uncle Jeff anymore. I really don't.
You'd be an uncle removed.
So I just think I'm uncle entitled. And it doesn't mean I don't care for anybody. It just means that you ain't got to buy me a gift card for Uncle Day, is all I'm saying. I'm good. I do not feel begrudged at all.
Mm-hmm.
What were we talking about?
I don't know. I'm enjoying uncle definition though. It's really good.
That started with there was a parallel that Texas is hated, man.
Yeah.
They have a school where even when Texas isn't even on the radar, every photo has a thumb as a hook 'em down. It is in their DNA. They hate you to such an extent. It's how they literally identify themselves as. And the Aggies aren't much better. Then you're just never going to win them over. You're never going to be able to convince them, oh, you know what? Say what you want to about Texas. Pretty honorable institution with the way that they run their football program. And look, I don't like it, but I'm kind of proud of them. And I wish we were exactly like them. That's just never going to happen. That is not how it works.
How dare you? I've heard that so much at yell practice. I don't know what you're talking
about.
You
got to be a 2%er. Your dad along was like, hey, Chad. Just so you know, people in Austin,
People think they're just making out when the lights go out at the yell practice. No. Some of them are discussing the Longhorns.
So for the first time, Texas has really acted in a way where it's like, well, what do you think they're going to say? No, what do you think they're going to say? It's the first time now maybe they'll care. Maybe in July, I'll start hearing from coaches and sources and things like that. And they're saying things like, psst, hey, you know, the staff really hates it when people say that the only reason why Texas is number one in the country, like they're 6-0, right? People, they're really tired of hearing that the only reason why Texas is undefeated and first in the country and on their way to winning a national championship. They hate it when people say it's because of the money. So can you just like, I don't know, maybe get the word out that it's not always about the money?
That's going to be awesome. I can't wait to do that show.
I mean, it happens all the time.
If you
Because
get that,
I get people all the time who are like, so-and-so coach. It is one of the things in the last 5 years every coach hates. Every coach loves to have the bankroll on their side. What they hate to hear is, and here's the thing, nobody knows who's really paying it. So it's like they're begrudging coaches are often. For instance, it would be like Chris Jackson being like, just so you guys know, it wasn't about money with Cam Coleman. It was about culture.
he
It
loves
was
me.
about my conversations with him on the phone. Just so you know, he and I are like this.
Oh, yeah.
I've whispered sweet nothings into his ear. That guy wasn't going anywhere where I wasn't going. That's what assistant coaches want people to believe. And sometimes it's true. When we saw Bo Davis leave, there were guys who were like, I'm bouncing. Bo's my guy.
He
But-
restructured my deal 4 times.
But they get into their feelings about this whole, well, you guys only got him because you paid the most money.
It's
It's
rule
been
number
a
1.
disease that Texas has had worrying about that.
Yeah. What's rule number 1, Catch? When they pick the other school, they did it because of money. When they pick your school, they did it because they love your school. That's rule number 1.
Why can't it be because they loved your school? It's money. Like, just finish the sentence.
The answer is both.
Add an
Both.
apostrophe S to it. Why
And
did they commit in the old day? They loved that school.
yeah.
Go on.
Yeah. And who's
I mean,
got
it could be an and. Like, you can stop in the middle of this. You know what I mean? It's like one of those quotes where it's like, well, there's an extra sentence that he said, but we could probably just cut it short here. We don't have to put a 40-word quote in. There's a period. There's a stopping point. He said the thing that he needed to say. It's just stop.
do
If you want to
think-
say more, you can say more.
Do you
But-
think Derek Jeter enjoyed the paychecks for being a Yankee? I think he did. Do you think he enjoyed being a Yankee? I think he did. All of that can be true. And I will never understand those people with the ability to be proud of both of those things in Austin that choose not to. Catch, I will never understand it. Because that's the opportunity to be the Yankees of your world is right in front of you. You either want it or you don't. Lean in. Why would you lean out? If you want to lean out, get out of Austin. What are you doing in town if you're not there for that? Lean in. Enjoy.
I'm with you.
Enjoy. Be Texas. That's all you have to do. All right, Catch. Anything else we need to hit today? I did make up some buy or sell if you want to hit it real quick.
No, man, let's get
No.
out.
All right. Okay.
Because buy or sell, we might not be off for another 45 minutes. The way we've gone
It might
today.
take a while. You are right. All right. Thank you for liking. Thank you for getting your notifications. Thank you for subscribing. 210,000 plus.
I'm about to tell you when we're off the air what I was about to say on the air. So brace yourself.
I will. 210,000 plus subscribers. Thank you guys for that support. Go to that QR code in the upper left. That's how you get to orangebloods.com. Get there, get the latest information as Texas stacks up a portal class that it may not be 1 or 2. It's going to be right up there. It's going to be right up towards the top for 2026. Get all that great information. And we appreciate you for your support. Tomorrow at 12, it'll be the Modcast as Ketch will jump away, handle some business. We'll get the Mod guys in and see what they thought of Cam Coleman. Maybe Anwar's got another Drunk Unk show ready to go on the Modcast in the middle of the day. Drunk Unk day drinking. You never know. It could happen right here on Orange Bloods Live. Y'all take care. See ya.